people, immigrants, arrived this morning to Haifa, the Israeli port open to the world. Since the creation of Israel 3 years ago, they have come in streams from Romania, from Germany, from North Africa, from Yemen. 18,000 arrive each month, for Israel's gates are opened wide to all Jews who seek a better future and a home in the Jewish state. These have come to the threshold of the Negev to establish their home. The Negev is a barren desert. Millions of dunams, arid, sterile, await tillage by the hand of the pioneers. They don't fear the Negev. Those who preceded them cleared all the other deserts of Israel and transformed them into fertile fields. The Emek, the Sharon, the valley of Jezreel were deserts like the Negev. This is their example. This soil will be the soil of their houses, the soil which will yield their food. This is their challenge to the Negev. Three years ago, Beersheba, the ancient capital of the Negev, was nothing but an Arab town, heavy with sleep in the solitude of the desert. Now, Beersheba is becoming the administrative and economic center of the Negev, of 12 million dunams of land, which form 1/2 the surface area of Israel. Besides the old Arab population, Jewish enterprises, administrations, stores have been established, and Jews and Arabs live side by side in peace. Beersheba has seen its population triple in a few months. After the ruins of the war, its reconstruction and development were taken in hand by central organizations, Jewish Agency, Karen Kayemet, Karen Hayesod, which head work and development throughout the country. They established the Mifal HaNegev, the Negev Development Authority, which operates the reconstruction of the desert. But the immigrants become more and more numerous. The first arrivals were established in the new living quarters constructed at the borders of the town. Now that their numbers reach the thousands, the latest comers must content themselves with living in tents and waiting for the construction of the new Beersheba. That is an enterprise of enormous scope. The most modern machines have been brought from abroad to the solitude of the desert. Highly skilled workmen have been sent to operate them. This machine is the size of a big gun. It produces several cubic meters of concrete at once and molds an entire house of a single piece into a steel mold. This other machine transports the house to a prefabricated platform. The two machines construct 3 two-story houses each day. A modern town arises. In several months it will shelter the thousands of newcomers. Millions of dollars have been invested, but millions more are needed, which the Jews of Israel alone cannot furnish. It is the Jews of the entire world who must share the responsibility of this task. But the earth, the houses, the cities are not enough to allow men to live in the desert. There must be roads. During the centuries when the Negev produced nothing and signified nothing, camel caravans crossed it by narrow trails, and it was enough. Today, men and merchandise must circulate. Construction materials, tools, fuel, fodder must be carried into the desert. Its settlers must go from work to the villages. There must be roads. It is a vast enterprise, realized by the immigrants themselves, who take part on the spot in all the large public works. They work hard. It isn't easy under the scorching sun. Their great enemy is thirst. Thirst. The thirst of men, of animals, of the parched land. Water is the first problem of the desert. Water is the desert's eternal challenge to its inhabitants. The obsession of the Bedouin Arab, who struggles and dies in endless combat for a well. The old wells of the Bedouins are not sufficient for agricultural development in the desert. Since the beginning of the Zionist colonization, Jewish colonists have prospected water resources, drilled wells, constructed dams and cisterns, and laid pipelines. The result is the existence today of a basis for intensive development. Water is used with care. Great quantities of subterranean water supplies exist around Niram, to the north of the Negev. This water is carried into the desert by 3 pipelines. Powerful pumping stations distribute the water. Rainwater, the seasonal yield of the capricious wadis, is caught in these tubes, which are the veins and the arteries of the desert. Reservoirs are built machines dig kilometers of trenches, which receive each day kilometers of new canalization. And water gushes forth in each corner of the desert where the hand of a pioneer adds a stone, a furrow, a tree to this immense enterprise. Water gushes forth to quench the endless thirst of the desert. How does the colonization of the desert look? Would you like to visit a kibbutz with us? Here. This is Cheval. In the beginning, in October 1946, Cheval was nothing but an outpost in the desert, created together with 10 other outposts in the course of Operation Negev. 20 young people had to guard the land, study its properties, rainfall, climate, temperature. When they had to, they fought. For several years it was nothing but patient experimentation. But with the creation of the Jewish state, the outposts of the desert became military positions. And when the tidal wave of immigrants arrived in the country, it was time for these little advanced posts to transform themselves into large villages to absorb the influx. And Cheval, like the other agricultural colonies of the desert, participated in this absorption. Traditionally, the men who propose to establish a collective colony receive a fairly long training in a hakshara, but this practice has lapsed. There is not enough time. Tens of thousands are waiting at the gates of the Jewish state. Those who will participate in collective agriculture are sent directly to their colony and are trained on the spot by instructors. Others learn a trade and work in the industrial enterprise which completes the economic balance of the kibbutz. Cheval furnishes window frames and water taps to all the colonies of the region. Other kibbutzim specialize in electric equipment, cabinet making, and so on. Thus, an independent economy is created little by little in the Negev. Here is the most wonderful of harvests, the future inhabitants of this already subdued desert. And in the evening, the settlers enjoy themselves with dances and songs. Bedouin tribes dispersed in the desert are also benefited by the reconstruction of the Negev. Life and redemption are brought to them, too. They are starting to use the pipelines of the Jews for their flocks. Schools have been established for them, as well as a medical service to combat the diseases which ravage them. They also show the proof that the great challenge to the Negev is on the road to success. The Negev is not solely an area of great pioneering enterprise. Its soil contains rich vestiges of its glorious past. In all of Israel, from north to south, from Ascalon to Eilat, passing Kurnub, are to be found remnants of the civilizations of the Phoenicians, the Greeks, the Romans, the Crusaders, and the Turks. Their monuments tell their history. As a tourist center, the Negev will also play an important role in the development of Israel, and this too is an asset. That magic word, Eilat, is the symbol of the great challenge. Eilat, the southernmost point of Israel, is 300 kilometers from Tel Aviv. There is no road which takes you to Eilat. To go there, you follow the ancient caravan trails of Solomon, and you arrive at the bottom of a dry gulf, where in a narrow perimeter, the frontiers of Transjordan, Saudi Arabia, Egypt, and Israel meet. The soil is absolutely sterile. It is covered in some places by a coat of crystallized salt. Water arrives to Eilat also. One no longer drinks salt-free seawater, but real fresh water. And although there is not yet an economic life, they are preparing for future colonization with agricultural experiments which have been undertaken. Processes for removing salt deposits from the soil are being studied, and crops likely to succeed in Eilat are being tried. and attempts to produce several flower types have been successful. Magnificent flowers. Thus Eilat too is preparing to play its role in the Jewish state. Already a brick-making plant has been installed. Is being surveyed to prepare for future construction. Already a temporary government house has been built. And already one encounters the tourists who do not fear the burning winds blown in from Arabia. For them, they have built an inn and a cafe. Already fishing boats land on the banks of Eilat. Tomorrow, Eilat will be a deep water port. A fish canning industry will be created there. Eilat, open window to the Red Sea and all the Far East, will also absorb thousands of immigrants and will become a city. But today, Eilat is still difficult to reach. A great percentage of its provisions are brought in by plane, which makes it possible to return to Tel Aviv in less than an hour, the same distance which takes nearly 2 days to cover by road. Eilat, thus, is easily accessible to the great world centers, New York, Paris, London. And when you leave Israel, aboard one of these large four-motored planes from the Lida airport, do what I'm going to tell you. Go and see that corner of the airport where the travelers who don't wear a Leica on their shoulder are arriving. There you will see this ingathering of the exiles about which so much has been said. Here in Lida it is called Operation Alibaba, and these emigrants come from Persia and Iraq. And before them another operation with an exotic name, Operation Magic Carpet, has repatriated the Jews of Yemen. These Jews who took the Skymasters for the wing of the Mashiach. We will come across these people tomorrow on the dusty roads of the Negev. The Negev, this huge reserve of land for development and colonization of the Jewish state. And those people need fields, houses, work. Help them to build their homeland.